The 2024 NBA MVP race has been a widely disputed one over the past couple of weeks. And in the eyes of most people, there are 5 players in contention for this award. I have set out to make a video for the case on each of these top 5 options. This is the first of those videos, the compelling case of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for MVP. Now, before we get started, I have one ground rule. I will not say anything negative about the player in their own video. This is the case for, not against. The case against will come in the following videos of other players. So please, I'm saying it now, don't attack me in the comments for leaving something out that works against Shai. I'm aware those things will come out in the rest of the videos. First off, check out this tweet from 2 years ago. The rise of SGA has truly been a revelation over the past 2 seasons. And although the 2022-2023 campaign gave him a 5th place finish in MVP voting and landed him on the All-NBA first team, he is currently having a remarkably better season this year in almost every statistical category. As of today, he is averaging 31.2 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 6.5 assists, almost a block a game, 2.1 steals, 2.2 turnovers, while shooting 54.8% from the field, which is almost 4% better than his previous season. He's also shooting a massive 4.4% better from 3 this season on just over an attempt more per game. And since January 1st, he's shooting 46.7% from 3, including 59.4% in the entire month of February. Currently, he's 3rd in the league in points per game at 31.2, just behind Joel Embiid, who's been injured since January, and Luka Doncic, who is averaging 34.5 points per game. Giannis is right behind him at 30.7 points per game, and then Jason Tatum and Nikola Jokic are at 27 points per game and 25.8. I think it's pretty easy to rectify Luka scoring more points per game than him. Shai is shooting 5.4% better from the field. His true shooting percentage is tied for first out of the 4 alongside Giannis at 65.4%. He is also one of the most efficient isolation scorers in the NBA. If you haven't watched this Thinking Basketball video on SGA from just a few days ago, go ahead and watch it. I've linked it in the description. They do a fantastic job breaking down what makes Shai so special in the isolation game. And that first person ahead of him in isolation is Kawhi Leonard on almost half the opportunities. But my favorite offensive stat from Shai is his turnovers per game. He's currently averaging 2.2 turnovers per game. Now stay with me on this one. Now compared to our 4 other candidates, Jason Tatum comes the closest at 2.5, Jokic 2.9, Giannis 3.4, and Luka 3.8. They also all have pretty similar usage. I know usage percentages can get confusing sometimes, so we'll let that be. But the bottom line is he is the primary ball handler and initiator for his team. So you can't tell me it's not impressive that his turnovers per game are so low. But the craziest part about those 2.2 turnovers per game is that is the lowest amount of turnovers per game for a player in NBA history to score 30 plus points per game as well. Who's in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place, you may ask? Michael Jordan. And each one of those years, 91, 92, and 96 that MJ did that, he won the MVP award. Defensively, I think you can make a reasonable argument that he is one of the best defenders on this list. Yes, historically, Giannis has been an elite defender, and I would still say that Giannis is fantastic, specifically recently again in the new year. And I would also say Jokic is heavily underrated defensively, but I just don't understand why people are offended by saying that SGA is a really freaking good defender. He is leading the league in steals, and I know that's not everything. A lot of people like to laugh at that, but it's not nothing either. He's also tied for 2nd in the NBA in deflections and tied for 2nd in contested 3s per game. And when you watch him play defense, he may not be able to defend the 1 through 5 like Jalen Williams or Jaden McDaniels or some of the other elite wing defenders in the NBA, but that's only because of his slender frame, and where he lacks in size, he makes up for in motor and natural instinct. He seems to be everywhere at all times, correctly predicting what the offensive player is going to do next and staying in a position where he really doesn't foul much at all. Sure, it helps he has Lou Dort on his team, usually taking the best offensive player, and Jalen Williams as well with Chet underneath, but Giannis has Brook Lopez and he's 6'11", Jokic is 6'11", and we all know Luka isn't known for his defense. So I don't think that you can say just because he has a different style of defense that he plays and is a completely different player that counts against him in an MVP race. He is highly effective on the defensive end in what he does incredibly well. When it comes to advanced metrics, Hoops Hype did a survey of executives and media members around the league a couple years ago. An estimated plus minus by Taylor Snar, an ex-analytics head at the Utah Jazz, was surveyed very highly in that article. And when it comes to EPM ranking, Shai has the highest of them all, with a plus 9.3 overall EPM, just below Joel Embiid. Giannis is third overall with a plus 7.7, and Luka fourth at plus 7.6. Jokic fifth overall plus 6.7, and Jason Tatum 13th at plus 4.8. And when you split that up into offense and defense, Shai ranks in the 99th percentile offensively and the 97th defensively. EPM loves Shai's defense. He's also leading by far in their estimated win shares tool at 16.2. And if you take a look at EPM rankings for the past 10 MVPs, here's what we get. In 2023, Joel Embiid was second in EPM behind Jokic, when everyone thought Jokic probably should have won it. In 2022, Jokic was first in EPM. In 2021, Jokic first. In 2020, Giannis was first. In 2019, Giannis was fourth. In 2018, James Harden was first. In 2017, Russell Westbrook was fifth, but he did something only one other person in NBA history had done, averaging a triple-double. And then in 2016 and 2015, Stephen Curry was first in EPM, and Kevin Durant in 2014 was third. So according to the past 10 seasons that Dunks and Threes has data for, EPM seems to be a pretty good indicator of who was the most valuable player that year. But we all know advanced analytics are not everything, and a majority of the voters for this award are not just going to vote based off what Dunks and Threes or Darko or LeBron think that the MVP is. But over the past decade, one thing that MVP voters have really heavily considered is winning, or at least being near the top of your conference. Only 2 times in the past decade has an MVP won not being a top 3 seed in their own conference. First in 2017 when Russell Westbrook won it. The Oklahoma City Thunder were 6th in the West. But again, I think we can throw that one out. He averaged a triple-double. And then in 2022, when Nikola Jokic won his second MVP, the Nuggets were also the 6th seed. But in my opinion, he quite honestly had nobody for a supporting cast. Jamal Murray was out for the year with his torn ACL. Right now, the Thunder sit in 2nd place in the Western Conference, just half a game behind the Minnesota Timberwolves. And while a lot of things could change before the end of the season, here's my bottom line. If the Thunder finish as the 1st or 2nd seed, and as long as Denver is below them in the standings, I think there is an incredible argument to give Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the MVP. The Mavericks have been on fire lately, but they're 33-25 sitting in the play-in. They're going to have to climb up to high 40s, low 50s in wins and be like a 4 or 5 seed realistically for Luka to have a chance. And then the Bucks are a 3 seed in the West, just 1 game back, the Cavaliers at 2. And I know the Milwaukee Bucks look different this year with the big trade for Damian Lillard, but in terms of talent, it's pretty much the same team as last year, who got the #1 overall seed in the Eastern Conference. And even with Denver, they had the #1 overall seed in the Western Conference last year, same team this year. I don't know how you reward someone with a regular season award when their team literally goes backwards in wins, or at least in their conference standing from the previous year. The only candidate here that has a legitimate case over SGA in this regard is Jason Tatum, but we will save him for his own video. And meanwhile, the Thunder were 40-42 last season. Obviously, they did add Chet Holmgren, but we've actually proven that Shai is having a better season this year than he was last year, but I'm not sure you can say the same about a guy like Jokic. And when I say Jokic, yes, of course, he had one of the greatest seasons of all time last year, but he has taken a 3-year dip in true shooting percentage. He's at 65.2%, which is less than 70.6 last year and 67.2 the year before. And according to EPM, he is a below average defender now versus past seasons. The last thing I'll say is that you simply cannot guard Shai. He's one of the most unique and unorthodox offensive players in the game. The way he's able to contort his body with his slender frame and get separation, whether it's getting to the rim, popping back for an open 3, or hitting a tough mid-range. And in the fourth quarter this season, SGA is one of only 2 players in the entire NBA to average over 6 points per game on 55-45 shooting. The other player, you ask, his teammate Jalen Williams. So what do you think? Have I made a convincing enough case for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to win the MVP? For now, I will rest my case, and if you enjoyed this video, you will also enjoy the video I'm dropping very soon on the case for another Nikola Jokic MVP. If it's uploaded by now, it'll be clickable here on the end screen. If not, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's coming in a day or two. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see ya on the hardwood.